While I totally agree with you about the problems with what you call the annihilationist solution, so namely that it will not end the conflict without the deaths of millions of Palestinians, the other one-state solution that involves a secular merging with equal rights for Israel and Palestine, it reminds me of this quote from E.O. Wilson, the late Harvard myrmecologist, who on communism said something to the effect of great idea, wrong species, with the idea that ants are great communists, but perhaps humans would not make them. The connection here being that, sure, it would be wonderful if these two groups of people could merge and form this secular society, but it just seems so impossibly contrary to human nature that people with such totally intractable differences could ever live harmoniously together.
I never thought I would start a discussion about Wilson, E.O. Wilson, who has a very controversial legacy himself. Some people have accused him of eugenics and racism. So,
I did not know.
Well, it's worth considering this. And the reason I say that is because that's it's a witty observation. It has all the weight of the high table at Cambridge, great idea, wrong species, very rum expression. On the other hand, what does he mean by species? And is our species being given and therefore stable and unchanging? I mean, look, for God's sake, and I mean for God's sake, most people around the world have learned to live with people who are very different in their ways, their orientations, their belief systems, and so on. I mean, people have made enormous strides in building tolerance. Let's just take the case of sexuality. I mean, look at the immense advances made by human beings in coming to terms with the fact that everybody doesn't share the same form of sexual pleasure and familial orientation. People want to build different kinds of families, Now, I know the literature. People say, well, in the early modern period, there was more tolerance. Maybe there was. History goes in zigs and zags. But certainly, if you take just the United States in the 1950s, there was no tolerance. In Britain, for instance, homosexuality was banned. Now it's not banned. Now it's, in fact, you'll have the mayor of London leading the Pride March. So, our species has the capacity to evolve and to learn and to develop and to some extent become better. Not always. History moves in zigs and zags, not in a straight line. But I reject completely the second part of that statement, which is, great idea, wrong species. What species are you talking about, Wilson? Because the species isn't given. The species evolves. Our species being is quite remarkable. It's able to change. It's able to feel horror about things which only 50, 60 years ago were seen as quite natural. I follow things in different parts of the world, and I marvel every time there's a school shooting in the United States. It doesn't provoke the Japanese people to say, yes, we are humans, let's all arm up. They are like horrified, saying, what's happening in the US? That means that our species is not singular. Our species is capable of learning. Our species, understands information, data, processes it, comes up with new solutions. Now, we can say that people also zigzag a little too much. There's a little too much zag, not enough zig. When I was younger, we used to all say, hey, listen, our generation is the first generation that's going to be non-sexist. We are going to create households where we'll all cook equitably. Of course, it doesn't turn out exactly like that. But my God, for God's sake, it's so much better that we had those discussions then than, let's say, our parents who never talked about it. And now, as with people my generation with their children, are in a way different than their parents were. When their children come and say, hey, that's a sexist remark. Even some of my more, zigzagged sexist friends had that zig in an earlier period, and they understand the vocabulary. They don't look at their children going, what are you talking about? The species alters, the species learns. We have so many examples of people who had been adversaries learning to live with each other, becoming even allies. I mean, look at France and Germany, right through the history before the 1950s, those countries were perennially at war, or France and Britain. You just need to read Shakespeare to learn that. You don't even have to take a history class. One war after the other, once more into the breach, he says. And now, they are basically living together in some amity, collaborating with each other. So I don't accept that, because I reject the idea that people are fixed. I believe very much in the idea that people, given the opportunity, will allow their best natures to bloom. And really, isn't that why we have politics and we try to make the world a better place? Because we have some faith in the capacity for people to be their better selves.